What happens when a network backs a crime series about a guy who could see inside the minds of killers? You get a grim nightmare about twisted cases and a secret group with its own agenda. So how did a massive launch turn into falling ratings, creative chaos, and a cancellation before the year 2000 even arrived? Let's find out. This is the history of Millennium.
The wait is over.
Tell me how you know.
I see what the killers see.
The idea started after The X-Files became a massive hit for Fox, and the network wanted another series from writer and producer Chris Carter. He already had something forming around the coming millennium. The 90s had also put criminal psychology and serial killer cases right in the public eye, with Jeffrey Dahmer's case feeding that fascination. Carter had already touched that kind of horror in the X-Files episode Irresistible, which dealt with serial killing and necrophilia. The show also took influence from quite a few sources, like the movie Seven, the Bible, Dostoevsky, and Mary Shelley. Now that's one hell of a combination, but out of it came Frank Black, an investigator who left the bureau and ended up working as a consultant for a private organization called the Millennium Group. Frank could see inside the minds of killers, but he wasn't exactly Jean Grey. His ability came through profiling, instinct, experience, and a horrible understanding of what people could do when something rotten clicked in their head. When Carter took the idea back to Fox, he initially used the title 7 in Seattle, and they loved it. So they backed him with nearly $1.5 million per episode. But now Millennium needed someone who could carry Frank without turning him into a miserable bloke mumbling in a raincoat. Chris Carter had one actor in mind, Lance Henriksen. He had already tried to get him onto the X-Files, but it never lined up. So when he started writing Millennium, he wrote Frank Black with Henriksen in mind. He sent Henriksen the pilot script and he thought it was really good. But when he found out it was for a TV series, he got hesitant at first, like the script had suddenly caught an STD. But when he spoke to Carter face to face, he changed his mind. Upstairs though, the suits at Fox were not fully convinced. They wanted William Hurt, but the idea went straight down the toilet when he had no interest in doing television. So with her out of the way, Fox eventually greenlit Henriksen. Alongside him came Megan Gallagher as Catherine Black, Frank's wife, with Brittany Tiblady playing their daughter Jordan. Also, Terry O'Quinn aka John Locke also joined as Peter Watts. With the faces sorted, the next thing the show needed was a sound that could match its tone. And Carter went straight back to Mark Snow, who had already created the theme for The X-Files. For Millennium, he composed the theme and scored the episodes, with the main theme partly coming from a traditional Irish track Carter sent him alongside Kylie Minogue's Confide in Me. Now that's a really odd combo, but it actually worked. When the show premiered in October '96, it came out firing. The pilot pulled in 17.7 million viewers in the United States, giving Fox its highest rated drama premiere at that time. Shockingly though, the critics actually liked it. Ken Tucker at Entertainment Weekly gave it a B and praised the visuals and Henriksen's performance. Justin Elias at the New York Times saw it as a darker companion to The X-Files, with less humor and more interest in the nasty stuff hiding underneath. The Daily Nebraskan pointed to the lead actor, the premise, and the show's overall feel as reasons audiences could stick with it. Variety compared it to Twin Peaks and liked plenty of what it saw, but it still said it could have used a bit more fun. Not everyone was smiling though. The show's level of nastiness sparked a short-lived call for less violence on television. Still, the controversy didn't stop the show getting noticed where it mattered. Henriksen was nominated for a Golden Globe in '97, '98, and '99, making him the only actor from the show to get that kind of attention. The show also got 3 Emmy nominations and 3 Canadian Society of Cinematographer wins.
Begins.
What happened? Your little girl.
The killer doesn't see the world like everyone else.
But behind the ratings and the praise, the show had already been built under unusual conditions. The pilot got a full month to shoot, with little or no network interference, which is almost unheard of for a brand new show. The series was filmed in Vancouver using real locations, grey skies, wet streets, and miserable weather to make the show feel like Seattle. Frank's visions were handled with rapid flashes, distorted lenses, and slow-motion shots instead of any digital effects. The first season leaned into serial killers, murder cases, and Frank's work with the Millennium Group. But the audience started slipping, ratings dropped, and Fox wanted changes. So Glenn Morgan and James Wong took over for Season 2 while Carter focused on the 5th season of The X-Files and the movie. Morgan said the problems were clear: too much gore, too much shock, and no humor. So Season 2 moved away from serial killers and pushed harder into the group, conspiracies, supernatural stories, and stranger cases. Wong said he wanted the series to feel less predictable, closer to The X-Files, where the audience didn't know what kind of story they were getting each week. Some fans didn't like the shift. Season 1 gave them a grim crime show, then Season 2 started messing with the recipe like New Coke. The tinkering wasn't only in the episodes that aired. One unused plan involved the Peacock family from the X-File episode Home. Morgan wanted to bring them into Millennium because the episode had been controversial for the X-Files. Karen Knovel, who played Mrs. Peacock, was willing to return, and Peter Roth at Fox initially signed off on it, but then he came back and said the idea was dead. News Corp and even lobbyists in Washington had heard about it, and nobody upstairs wanted to make it. On the writing side, Henriksen later said Carter didn't like answering every question his stories raised, and new writers kept coming in with their own ideas while dropping threads already sitting there. By Season 3, Carter came back into control after Morgan and Wong left for other work. He didn't like where the tone had gone, so he tried to pull the series back towards Season 1. Then came rougher talk behind the camera. Lieutenant Bob Blecher was reportedly written out because of an on-set feud with Bill Smitrovich and Lance Henriksen. Terry O'Quinn later said that Henriksen, who could be hilarious one minute and the next he could be really moody. When you add that to a series in decline and changing shape, Millennium was heading down a slippery slope. By the 3rd season, Fox still hadn't committed to a 4th one, and the show was left hanging while Mad TV reruns took its place during the summer schedule. Even then, the door wasn't fully closed. Fox was still willing to bring it back, but Chris Carter had turned his attention to Harsh Realm. So Fox cancelled the show and aired its last episode in May '99. Frank Black did return later in the X-Files episode Millennium, which kind of gave the show a little bit of closure. After its cancellation, the fan push didn't stop. There were petitions, online discussions, and people still asking for Frank Black to carry on, but that fell on deaf ears.
How does he see it? Differently. From the creator of the X-Files.
You can't stop it.
I want you.
From there, the show moved into its legacy years, through reruns, home media, and then the fans who kept it in people's minds long after the final episode. The show moved into limited syndication in the early 2000s. Then, a few years later, the DVDs finally started arriving. Season 1 came out in 2004, with Seasons 2 and 3 following in 2005. Then, the complete series arrived in 2008, bringing together all 3 seasons, including the X-Files episode Millennium. That release led straight into revival talk. Henriksen said the box set sales might show how many people still cared for it, and he later backed a campaign to bring back the show. Carter had already talked with Henriksen about a possible Millennium film and said he had ideas for it, but Fox never showed enough interest. After that, a book came out in 2012. Then the story kind of continued in comic book form in 2015. Now for fans who want to add the series to their collection, I've added a link in the description below, and there should be a card popping up on screen to help you check it out. Now, as for my own take on it, I think the show is an underrated classic. Chris Carter created something properly dark and fascinating. It's clever, and it actually has something going on under the surface. It's grim, heavy, and sometimes feels like the show wants to drag you into a horrible little corner and just leave you there. And I think that's one of the reasons it really works. And we're not done yet. Next time we take a look at a 90s buddy cop series. Until then, why don't you check out our previous episode on martial law. Thanks for watching, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.